Are you excited for Granblue Fantasy Relink? Recently, we actually got hands-on with the game, and so we got the chance to experience the campaign, questing, multiplayer, and even the endgame. And something that's going to keep you hooked to Relink is grinding up your favourite character's gear, and one of the ways you can do that is through the quest and multiplayer system. We're putting in a bunch of effort going through all of our notes and our gameplay to bring this information to you guys on Granblue Fantasy Relink, so let's go through what we got to experience so you can find out if it's any good. The first thing to mention is for these solo warriors out there, because a lot of you are probably worried if you can actually undertake a quest solo. Well, when you execute a quest, you will basically have a choice. You can either go solo and have the slots be filled with AI companions, or select to remove the AI companions and do a purely solo run with just your single character. We know some action RPG players love to do demonstrations and skill showcases, so a solo mission will be perfect for that. On the other hand, if you want to play multiplayer, you can also fill in the slots with AI so you can have the perfect party size. But we are curious to know if you're a solo god or a multiplayer sweat. Where do you land? Tell us below. Another question you may have is, how do you actually get a quest and then start them? Well, as you play through the main story, you will unlock more quests for yourself to undertake, and we actually unlocked our first quest after about 20 minutes of gameplay. For this starting quest, the game had a very Monster Hunter vibe to it, as you will need to invite players to your lobby using an in-game invite system, which will then allow them to join the online session and customize their character ahead of starting the quest. From here, you can head over to the quest counter and select the quests that you want to do as a group. We know that there will be over 100 quests in the final game, and there will be a variety of objectives and difficulties to undertake them at. Now, these quests do come in a bunch of different flavors, and we actually got to try out a few different ones that were recommended by the developers themselves. The first quest was a more survival and round-based objective one, whereby we had to defeat enemies within a time limit, and the faster you completed it, the better rewards you got. Each quest also had some pretty cool side objectives, pushing you to complete them for that extra challenge and then extra rewards. I found myself addicted to pushing these challenges, as the first time you actually do a quest, you're just finding your feet and you can easily replay the mission to go again. The second recommended quest that we did was against a griffin, which was a much more exciting one, and personally we love taking down big old bosses. But something that surprised me was just how alert you would have to be in the quest, and the monsters didn't play around, especially when you go into something called overdrive mode, which is basically a monster's rage mode. In this mode, the bosses become super aggressive, and they actually change their moveset for some additional dangerous attacks. As an enjoyer of Souls-like games, big boss fights, and Monster Hunter, we really enjoyed this experience, as the monster posed a real threat, and we were able to come up with a little strategy of using our powers to quickly restrict the movement of the boss by utilizing status effects such as freezes and stuns. The last quest that we did wasn't a recommended one, but our team really wanted to give it a go because it was the hardest quest available, so we wanted to see if we could complete this one, and unfortunately we don't have the footage of the fight to show you, but this fight was against an ancient dragon, and it was a real step up in terms of difficulty, which was super exciting for us. After completing the quest, you're given a bunch of chests to open, and this contains items such as crafting materials to upgrade your weapons, sigils to equip, and other additional items. As mentioned earlier, the faster and more challenges you completed when undertaking the quest, you will then get more rewards at the end. The rewards are basically tied to the result rank that you are assigned at the end of the quest, and this goes all the way up to S++. Now let's go over some interesting gameplay details that you probably want to know about. Each quest will have a power level assigned to it, which means you will need to meet that requirement to be able to join the quest. But the developers did say that if you join a private session with a friend, you will be able to boost your friends that are below the assigned power level up to that higher level quest. But if you matchmake online, you will then need to meet the requirements before you enter the quest. One of the things that we were interested to know about is how Skybound arts and chain bursts work in multiplayer. If you didn't know, a Skybound art is basically the game's version of an ultimate attack, and they look very cool. But what takes them to the next level is that you can chain them together with other players, and this is called a chain burst. Just like in solo play, in multiplayer quests, players will have a small window in which they can activate their Skybound to trigger the start of a chain burst. Doing so will continue the burst and will result in the 5th Skybound art doing a full burst based on the first character to activate it. This means if you're smart when fighting a monster with a weakness such as ice, you'll want to use an ice character like Lancelot to trigger the first Skybound art, to then make the full burst once completed trigger a ice attack. When it comes to your character selection, you're able to use any of the characters that you have already unlocked. You can simply swipe them out in the menu and head into the quest lobby. We have seen many of you guys asking this, but unfortunately we were not able to test having multiple of the same character in a single session, so we don't know if you can do that. But we do know that building out the right gear and sigils will be very important to the gameplay, as in quests each boss and enemy will have their own mechanics and weaknesses. Sigils will grant you a bunch of different bonuses, allowing you to basically create a build around a specific playstyle or character. For example, you can get sigils that will give you additional health or critical strike chance, so you can tailor this to your preference. There are also masteries that players can unlock that give them additional skills and stats, and one of the ways you can get the points to unlock masteries is by completing the story and the quests. The game also has a pretty large selection of emotes and other communication tools that can be used in the lobby and during battles. Some of the emotes actually have animations and voice lines tied to them, meaning that you should be able to communicate with other players even if you don't have a microphone. We really enjoyed what we got to play, as it was very challenging, and we can see there will be a ton of replayability here if you are looking to grind up characters to max level and then take on the game's hardest content. Something that really stood out to us was how fun the minute-to-minute gameplay was, considering the combat itself is simple compared to something like Monster Hunter that has a ton of different combos that you can pull off. Even though the combos themselves are simpler, when playing in multiplayer it does have the depth in the tactics you can do as a team by selecting the right skills, builds, and timing to be successful. However, we are concerned about the quest objectives, as there needs to be more variety than just clearing mobs and defeating bosses in order to keep things exciting. But that being said, there are a ton of other games out there that focus solely on defeating bosses, and they are still a ton of fun. So as long as the bosses are cool and engaging, we see it as being a blast to play, and we know from the endgame footage that when you get to a high enough level, things start getting really spicy, as you will need to make sure you have the right game plan, and the developer introduces new mechanics which look very exciting. After we got to play our hands-on session with the multiplayer, we are super excited to get our hands on it again. But if you want to get an even better picture of the multiplayer gameplay, we will leave you with some awesome gameplay of this. So tell us, what do you think?
Behold the fruits of chaos when like frost. This is perfect. Take that.
Riddle this one, Mark.
What he said. Impressive.
Let's try that again. Superb. Great maneuver.
Go get him.
Into the fight.
This one's great. Like a well-oiled machine.
You almost have my
Voice of my pit.
looking good.
Away. My fists. They howl.
Take him.
Strike.
Did the dance.
The way of the fist.
Thank you.
In the way of the
Take that.
Bring out the big gun. Fire in the hole.
Got it in my sights. For four.
Understood.
Still got a long way to go. O blade which sunders evil. Swords of Vega! Lancelot! At your command! Fight Boozle! Here goes! And dust to dust!
Take that!
Faster!
Blazing fist with the red lotus!
Shine as one! The Astrophism!
Now the battle
The end
begins.
isn't
Understood.
I'll follow you.
Sock it to him.
Understood.
Eat your due. Feel yourself. Go. Brave away. March through.
Parry this.
Oh, you're in for it. Nothing survives this. Take that!
Understood.
Wisely judged.
Understood. Victory is at hand.
I'll show them the meaning of pain.
Parry this.
This is power.
Oh, that should be the last of them, which means
couldn't have
quest
done it alone.
complete.
Let's see.
My beer. Before my might.